So meditation was something I was kind of new to. I took a couple classes in Windsor. There's a store called White Feather Holistic Arts. It's on Ottawa Street. If you've never been, I really highly suggest checking it out. I took so many classes there after Michael passed. I would go for shamanic drum circles. I did meditation classes where they beginner classes where they teach you how to meditate. I went for crystal workshops. I went for guided meditations. And my mindfulness coach now, after I leave a session with him, he'll prescribe me not medications, but actually meditations. Whoa, meditations. Oh. Okay. He would prescribe me meditations to do when I get home because he has a YouTube channel. Oh, I'll link that below if you want to check it out. And he would prescribe me certain ones to do in the morning or at night to try to help me deal with whatever I brought up in the session that day. And along with meditations, yoga. Yoga was something everybody was suggesting that I do. And I didn't get it. I'd never done it before, but I guess I was open to it, but I really needed somebody else to go with me. So my friend actually, as a gift, bought me a Groupon online for a yoga studio in town. And her and I went, and it was the most ridiculous experience of my life. Ridiculous and hilarious, and just from the get-go walking in that place, we were just where did we end up? What's going on? We wanted to sit at the back of the class, but we got there late and we had to sit in the front of the class, and oh my God, we couldn't find the door to the right room at first. And one girl, we passed the bathroom, this girl's looking at us, oh, is it your first time here? We got this air of attitude from some of the workers there. We did not like it. It was ridiculous. And I just thought, how contradictory is this? This is a yoga studio. You go in here, everyone is a student here, including the teachers. We are all here to learn. What is the issue that we're all having with the 2 new people in class? I don't know. It's just, you know what? If you want me to do a story time about that yoga experience, I will. You just let me know in the comments. You like this. You let me know some way that you want me to do a story time about that, because I will. And maybe I'll get my friend to join me. I'm looking at you, Sabri, and we'll do it, because it was horrible. And I hated it. I actually walked out of there going, what the hell is the hype about? I don't get it. It was actually one time I was at White Feather, joining in on some class or event they were having one night, and somebody was like, I love yoga, but I don't like going to classes sometimes, but I found this girl on YouTube and her name's Yoga with Adrian, and I just do yoga at home now. And I was like, oh my God, I never thought to go on YouTube to look at yoga videos, huh? I will link Adrian's page below as well, because once I actually got in a routine with it, and hearing her explain it and watching her videos actually really helped me understand what yoga is. And I gotta tell you, I had a lot of breakthroughs watching her videos and doing the yoga with her. And at the end of yoga, you lay, it's called corpse pose or savasana, but you just kind of lay on your back with your arms out and your feet out, and you're just laying and you're continuing your breathing. And it was during that time I actually had a few breakthroughs. I remember one in particular was about the guilt I was feeling over Michael's passing. People say you got to get rid of the emotions that don't serve you. And guilt, what is guilt doing? How is that serving you, right? And I know I had no hand in Michael's passing. Nobody did, not even himself. But I still felt guilty that I wasn't there with him that night, that I didn't stop it somehow, that I didn't do more, but I couldn't have done more. I wasn't with him that night. Nobody was. He was by himself. I couldn't have done more. I was with my family that day and that night as well, and I couldn't drive to meet him because had a few drinks, but the guilt was still eating me up. And I remember laying in Savasana one time, and I don't know, I was thinking about things, and then suddenly it just clicked that guilt was an emotion, a feeling that was no longer serving me, and that it was time to let it go. And ever since that day, it's been non-existent. So, yoga, man. I didn't get it at first, but I get it now. I painted. I like to paint. I feel like I'm a pretty creative person. I feel like painting is just like another form of meditation, and really for like $10, it's pretty cheap because you can go to the dollar store and pick up a set of paintbrushes, a set of paint, and a couple canvases. And yeah, and it's one of those things where I feel like I could shut my brain off for the time where I'm sitting in front of this canvas. Like, and you don't really have to think too much. It's like you look at your colors, you look at the one that you like the most, and you dip your paintbrush in it, and then you just like, and I'm not like this like crazy painter. Like, hold on. So I have an obsession with mermaids, and I didn't realize it at the time until somebody pointed it out to me, but it kind of looks like a mermaid either giving birth to an egg or getting impregnated with one. I don't know. I guess depends on how you want to look at it. I put it up like this. But I don't know, man. I like painting. You might think this is ugly. I think it's freaking beautiful. I don't know. But I just feel like it's good to like shut your mind off to, which is something you want to do sometimes when you're dealing with your grief, because you don't want to think about things anymore. You just would rather not. So, painting. I also mentioned this in a few videos, but I boxed. I took a couple classes, one at Border City Boxing with a friend of mine, and then my other friend and I went to do a kickboxing class, which was kind of cool because I think I mentioned in a few videos too, I have a problem with my anger. Not so much a problem, but just that's my kind of go-to emotion. So hitting stuff just really makes me feel better because, again, it's another way to get all the pent-up energy you feel out of your system. And I still have a punching bag set up in the garage that take a few stabs at every once in a while. Like I said, you gotta find what works for you. You might not like that suggestion, but for me, it worked. Netflix. I laid in bed a lot and just watched Netflix. And I would try to watch things that would, again, shut my brain off. One of them was Downton Abbey. I think I rewatched Downton Abbey about 3 times during my initial grieving process. Spoiler alert's coming up, but at this point, if you haven't seen it, then... But I would fast forward through, I think it's the end of the 3rd season, one of the husbands passes away in a car accident, which I relate to. So I couldn't watch that part of the series for a very long time. And even in the episodes that followed that, where like the widow, the wife, is like grieving, I couldn't really watch that because that hit a little too close to home. A lot of Netflix watching, a lot of mindless Netflix watching. Like I would even go back and watch like Big Comfy Couch on YouTube. Also, Big Comfy Couch has an episode on describing death to children. Y'all, it is like so smart. I'll find the link again and I'll link that down below. It's worth a watch. Like, it's kind of crazy how they describe it, but it's so like beautiful in its simplicity too. I'll link it down below. It's worth a watch. Now, I know a lot of these suggestions have been pretty active suggestions that require you to get out of bed and show up, but a lot of the times dealing with your grief or coping with your grief just looks like you laying in bed with a bunch of used Kleenexes around you. That's also how you grieve. You're exhausted during this time. You don't have all the energy in the world, and you won't for a very long time. I talked about that as well. So a lot of the times dealing with your grief is just you laying in bed trying to recuperate, because the mental affects the physical, the emotional affects the physical. And part of how it affects the physical is just draining you of all the energy you have. Don't get down on yourself that you might have spent a week in bed, 2 weeks in bed, a month in bed. That's not doing anything. That's actually doing something. As weird as that might sound, and you might still feel that you're getting down about yourself because you're spending so much time in bed, or maybe other people are making you feel guilty for doing that. And I will say to you, they have no right to make you feel guilty about doing that. That is actually something that is helping you. And I'm pointing at my bed right now. That's why I'm doing this. But that is something that is actually helping you process. Because all you're doing when you're doing that is thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. which is good. And you're probably still asking yourself the question, like, why did this happen? Why did this happen? How did this happen? What's going on? What's going on? I remember my counselor telling me, like, when I would ask her those questions, because I was trying to figure it all out, she just said, keep asking your questions, those questions, and don't stop. Because there really are no answers to those questions, but you have to keep asking them over and over again. Because one day you'll just like kind of stop. And when you really kind of stop, that's you kind of accepting things. So laying in bed doing nothing is actually doing a really big something for you. And again, don't let anybody make you feel guilty about doing that. Because unless they've been in your position, they don't understand. They don't fully understand. People are totally capable of feeling compassionate towards you and empathetic, if that's the right word. But don't let people make you feel guilty about doing that, especially yourself too. There's so many ways that you can cope with your grief. So these might not be things that you relate to. Maybe they are. Maybe you've had people suggest you do some of the things on the list, and take this as a sign that maybe you should start trying some of these things. And maybe you've discovered some ways yourself that have totally helped you deal with your grief. And if that's the case, like, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear how some of you developed your own ways of coping, because other people could be reading it as well that haven't tried maybe your method yet, and it could work for them. So let's all just try to help each other. And in the comments below, write something that you do that helps you deal with your grief. All right, guys, that's it for this week's video. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, like this video if you've liked it, leave a comment. I put videos out every week, Wednesdays or Thursdays, kind of depends. But regardless, I'll see you guys next week. Love you. Bye.